everyone, it's Mandy. Thanks so much for joining me today. I have a new layout to share with you, and this one is for the Vicki Boutin design team, and I'm playing again with the Colourpop acrylic paints. And my idea for this page was to create a bit of a rainbow effect. So I've chosen 6 different colours in the acrylic paints, and what I'm going to do is cover the top half of the layout with these colours, and I'm starting, as you can see, in the middle of the page, and I'm going to work my way out. And the reason I did that was because I sort of wanted each section of colour to be roughly the same width. I'm not measuring it or anything, but I kind of thought visually it would be easier to break it up if I started in the middle, and then I can sort of see how much room I have for each colour. And I should mention I'm using the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper for my background, and this is fantastic for using for your mixed media layouts. It's very thick and it takes all of the wet mediums very well with minimal warping. So if you're looking for a good cardstock to use for your mixed media projects, I would highly recommend using the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. So what I decided to do with these paints was water them down a bit to make them a little bit more like watercolour paints. And the reason I decided to do that was because I didn't want them to be quite so vibrant. I wanted them to have a bit more of that watery kind of look to them. And so all I did was put a little bit of each colour onto my craft mat, and you can see there that I just spritzed some water on top of it and mixed it around until I was happy with the consistency of each one. And so I'll tell you the colours that I'm using on this page from left to right. I started on the left with crushed pineapple, and then moving over to juicy pear, daiquiri ice, blue Hawaiian, and then the last 2 colours are saltwater taffy and plum pudding. And what I did with those last 2 colours was I added a little bit of gesso to them as well as watering them down because they were a bit more darker and more vibrant than the other colours. And that's just going to, the gesso just tones down that colour a little bit just so that they didn't stand out more than the other colours on the page. And the other thing you might have noticed that I did as I was adding the paint to the cardstock was I spritzed a little bit of water onto the background as well. And that just enabled me to be able to blend those colours together really well. And it just helped the paint to just move a little bit more easily on the page before it soaked into the cardstock. And then the last thing I did there was just add some ink splatters at the bottom of the page, and I matched up each of the colours. So I did the yellow underneath where I'd added the yellow, and so the splatters line up with those colours as well. Okay, so then I decided to fussy cut some of these butterflies out of the Social Butterfly patterned paper. And what I want to do is I'm going to choose colours that match the background because I want to do a bit of a tone-on-tone effect with my embellishments. And so as you can see, I'm starting with the yellow, so I'm going to have that on the yellow side, and then I'm going to choose some of the other colours as well out of that patterned paper and cut some, as you can see there, I've cut those butterflies out to match the colours on the background as best I can. So then I decided I wanted to add just a little bit more detail to my background, and so I'm going to add a little bit of stamping, and once again I'm doing some tone-on-tone stamping. So first I chose that yellow ink to stamp over the top of the yellow, then I've chosen an aqua one, and lastly I'll do a blue one. I do go back and redo that yellow one though because it was actually too similar to the colour that I had on my background and you couldn't really see it very well, so I end up choosing a darker yellow to do over the top of that. And this is just going to add some subtle detail to the background. And these colour wheel inks are fantastic. They're quite good value for your money because you get 6 colours in each set. So you have your cool set and your warm set, and they really stamp really beautifully. So you can see there that I've chosen a darker yellow, sort of in between a yellow and an orange, and then I'm going to stamp that over the top of where I've already done the stamping over there on the left. So as you can see, it's not a detail that really stands out a lot, but it just adds some subtle interest to the background. So now I'm going to bring in these butterflies, and I'm going to try and match them up as well as I can to the colours on the background. And so I'm sort of arranging them in a way that they create a visual triangle on the background. So if you joined up each of the butterflies, they sort of make a triangle, and that just helps to draw the viewer's eye around the page. And so the photo that I'm documenting today is from a retreat that I went to recently. I was lucky to attend the first Cocoa Vanilla Studio retreat in Coffs Harbour, and it was such a beautiful weekend. It was so nice to be able to meet some of the ladies who I've been friends with online for a while. To be able to meet them in real life was so amazing, and we just had such a fun time. I got quite a bit of scrapbooking done, but I think what I enjoyed the most was just spending time with these ladies who share my passion for scrapbooking and memory keeping. And so this photo is of all of the ladies who were on my table at retreat, and they were such a fun group of girls. We had lots of good laughs, and it was, yeah, just a really fun time together. And so what I'm doing now is choosing some patterned papers to match my photo with. So I chose one of the pattern papers, that blue one, from the 7 by 10 inch paper pad, and then I've chosen that light aqua colour one from the 12 by 12 paper pad. And I end up not using that blue one in the end. I decided that it was just a bit too much colour. I end up switching it for a black patterned paper, just because I felt like I needed something more neutral behind the photo, just because there was so much colour on the background. I think that light aqua one sort of worked well because they were the colours that are in the middle of the layout there, but I just felt like the blue just was too much. And so I also added a layer of vellum behind the photo, so that just adds another layer without adding to the colour. So it's just more subtle than, I guess, a patterned paper would be. Okay, so now I've got my photo stuck down, and I'm going to add my title directly underneath the photo. And I'm using the black chipboard thickers from the All the Good Things collection to add my title, and it's just going to say CVS Retreat. And I love these thickers. They're so versatile. They just work on any layout, I guess because they're black, and they've got a beautiful script patterned through them as well. So I guess that just gives them a little bit more interest. So I'm just using my T-square ruler just to make sure that I have the title centered and it's going to be straight. And I really love the contrast of that black title against the bright colours on the background. I know I've said that before, but I love using pops of black on layouts where I'm using lots of bright colours. Okay, so I've got that stuck down now, and I'm just going to go through the die cuts in the collection to see if there's anything that I want to add to the page. I played around with maybe adding something at the bottom of the page there. I do end up taking it off though. I just felt like it didn't really need anything at the bottom of the page. I felt like with this layout, I loved the background, but then I really struggled with embellishing and just couldn't find anything that really worked. I love the butterflies, but in terms of other embellishments, I end up keeping it quite simple just because when I added things, I just felt like it sort of maybe took away from the background. Maybe it just didn't need too much more. So I do end up deciding to keep it quite simple. So I'm gluing down those butterflies now, and after I finished filming, I decided to take the layout to my sewing machine, and I do add some machine stitching through the middle of those and just sort of left the wings. I didn't add any glue or anything to the wings because I wanted them to lift off the page to give them some nice dimension. And then the last thing you're going to see me do is just add a few of these watercolour stickers. I chose a couple of the flowers and I'm going to embellish with those just because I wanted something more neutral to add to the page. Just because there was already lots of colour, so that was why I decided to use those. And I do add one at the top there, but I end up moving that and tucking it in around the photo. So off screen, I then add some black ink splatters, and I think that will pretty much finish it off. I end up taking off that die cut that I'm adding now and not leaving it there. And then that will finish it off. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please leave me any questions below if there's anything that you'd like me to answer, and I will be back soon with another video. So I'll see you then. Bye.